If you've ever filed your taxes online, or maybe you run a small business, there's a really good chance you've used an Intuit product. We're talking about absolute giants like TurboTax and QuickBooks. But what's the actual story behind this company that's just so everywhere in our financial lives? Well, today we're going to do a deep dive into Intuit and find out. So for this explainer, we're pulling our info from two really solid sources. First, we've got a detailed research report from Compasscope that really breaks down the whole competitive scene. And second, we're using the absolute latest numbers and commentary right from Intuit's Q1 2026 earnings call. This way, we get the big picture strategy and the most up-to-the-minute data on how they're actually doing. All right, so here's our game plan. First up, we'll map out Intuit's huge financial ecosystem. Then we're going to ask, are they a competitive powerhouse? After that, we'll look at their 4 key growth engines for the future, check out the potential risks versus their recent performance, and then we'll wrap it all up with a watch list for any investor out there. To really get into it, you have to see it as way more than just a software company. It's this deeply connected financial platform. And honestly, understanding how all the pieces of its empire fit together, well, that's absolutely crucial. Intuit casts a really, really wide net. They're basically focused on 3 core groups. You've got your small and mid-sized businesses, then you have the accountants and tax pros who serve those businesses, and finally, of course, you've got millions of us, individual consumers, just trying to manage our own finances. This 3-pronged approach is totally key to their whole strategy. Now, check out how all these famous brands are actually organized. For businesses, the big ecosystem is QuickBooks and Mailchimp. For taxes, you have TurboTax for us regular folks and ProTax for the professionals. And for personal finance, the huge player is Credit Karma. But here's the thing. They aren't just separate products. They're all designed to work together, feeding customers and data back and forth across the entire platform. So, keeping that ecosystem in mind, let's ask the million-dollar question. What makes Intuit so ridiculously dominant? This is really the heart of the bull case for the company, and believe me, it all starts with one absolutely mind-boggling number. Just look at this. In the US, small business accounting world, QuickBooks has an 85% market share. No, that is not a typo. This kind of dominance is the absolute bedrock of Intuit's power. It's the official record keeper for millions of businesses, which creates this incredibly powerful lock-in effect. And that brings us to a super critical idea: switching costs. See, for an Intuit customer, changing your accounting software isn't like switching your brand of coffee. Oh no, it's more like trying to move your entire financial house. You've got to migrate years of data, you have to retrain your whole staff, relink all your apps. It is a massive headache. And that friction, that is Intuit's best friend. Okay, so how does Intuit stack up against giants like Oracle or Microsoft, the ones that make that complex ERP software? It really boils down to breadth versus depth. Competitors might go way deeper into complex enterprise stuff, but Intuit's real power comes from its incredible breadth. It connects business accounting with consumer taxes, with personal credit, all inside one single ecosystem. So how does a company that's already so dominant keep growing? Let's take a look at their strategy for the future. I mean, being on top today is one thing, but where does that growth come from tomorrow? It turns out Intuit is betting big on 4 key areas. Here they are. First, they're pushing QuickBooks upmarket to serve bigger, more complex businesses. Second, they want to get growth going again in their marketing platform, Mailchimp. Third, they're expanding their expert-assisted TurboTax Live services. And fourth, they're weaving Credit Karma even deeper into their consumer platform. Now, let's zoom in on that third one, the live services, because the impact is huge. As you can see right here, when Intuit gets a customer to upgrade from a do-it-yourself product to a live version with expert help, they nearly double the average revenue per customer. It goes from $119 all the way up to $224. That's a massive incentive to push these services hard. And what about that push to serve bigger businesses? Well, the latest earnings call gave us this number, 40%. That's the incredible revenue growth from Intuit's mid-market products like QuickBooks Advanced. Now, for a company this big, that level of growth in a key strategic area, it shows their plan isn't just working, it's actually speeding up. And you know what's underneath all of this? It's AI. On the earnings call, the CEO, Sasan Goodarzi, pointed out how their new AI tools are creating real measurable value. I mean, saving a small business owner 12 hours a month, that's not just some nice little feature. It's a powerful reason to stay on the platform and even pay more for it. Okay, so the growth story sounds pretty compelling, right? But hey, no company is without its challenges. So let's take a look at the bear case, the potential downsides that the Compass Scope report identified, and see how it holds up against the very latest performance numbers. And the headline number from that Q1 2026 earnings call is strong, 18%. That's their overall revenue growth. This number kind of sets the stage, showing that even with some potential headwinds, the company is still firing on all cylinders. Now, let's dig into those specific risks. This slide really puts it all together. The research report flagged Mailchimp's slow growth as a key risk. And yeah, the earnings call confirmed revenue is down a little bit, but they also pointed out that their new mid-market strategy is starting to get some traction. But then, on the other hand, the report worried that Credit Karma's performance might be cyclical, that it could struggle when interest rates are high. But in reality, its revenue just grew a whopping 27%. Just incredible momentum and market share gains there. So, all that brings us to our final section. We've seen the ecosystem, the competitive strengths, the growth plan, and the risks. Let's boil this all down into a really clear watch list of what to pay attention to from here on out. Here are the 5 biggest questions. First, the government's new free IRS direct file system. Is that a real threat to TurboTax? Second, can Intuit's push into the mid-market truly compete with giants like Oracle? Third, will all these expensive AI investments actually lead to higher profits? Fourth, was Credit Karma's massive growth just a fluke, or can it keep that up? And finally, will that Mailchimp turnaround strategy actually work? The answers to these questions are going to shape Intuit's future. And this all leads to the final, critical question we should really be thinking about. See, Intuit is trying to position itself not as a software company, but as an AI-powered system of intelligence. So as we look to the future, is its biggest threat the old guard, the Oracles and SAPs of the world? Or is it some new, nimble, AI-native challenger that we haven't even heard of yet? That, right there, is the key question for the years ahead.